So over the last 10 years at Curated, this year will be our 10-year anniversary, we have found some of the most incredible Lamborghini examples, and we're always searching. I always keep this wish list of cars that maybe haven't appeared, they haven't been seen in many years, but I know they exist, and I know really in our, if you're a Lamborghini nerd, these are the cars on this wish list that I want to find or discover one day. And one of those cars always perplexed me because I really never understood what it was. It was this orange Lamborghini that actually I had seen photos of it in the factory museum. It was a Diablo with these almost like trumpet-like scoops on the engine bay. And then ironically, Lamborghini, if you went into their store at the factory, there was actually a toy model of it. And then you go online, you can actually find models of this Lamborghini Diablo GT2. And really online, there's not much history about this car, but we had this insane opportunity about 2 years ago. We got a phone call from a very, very important collector. He was facing some major health issues, and he told us that he had this fantastic collection of cars that he bought from the Lamborghini Museum. Now, one of those cars, it's sort of a funny story. We had actually purchased many years before. It was also part of his collection. He has sold it many years before. That was the one-off Murcielago RGT. But the other car from the factory museum that we now had the opportunity to buy direct from him was the Diablo GT2. Now, the Diablo GT2 was built by Lamborghini, and it's sort of not precisely clear, but between 1996 and 1997. And this car was originally based on one of the early Diablo SVR chassis. And it was an SVR chassis that was sort of slowly developed. Now, in 1996, Lamborghini launched the car at the Bologna Motor Show, and it was originally launched in sort of this orange Arancio, I believe it was Arancio, California, metallic orange, the black wheels, this big wing, and very, very cool looking car. Now, I believe, and I don't know this just yet, that it was actually probably the first Diablo ever shown with the open headlights. So like glass headlights, which would have later been used in the 99 and the 2000 Diablos, 6.0 cars. And then as I was researching this car, I learned that there was only one. We knew it was the only Diablo GT2 ever built, but the bodywork and a lot of the pieces were different from that first original press photo, the first original show from Bologna. Now, that really didn't bother me because I knew the car had been seen at Lamborghini Museum in its current state. It had a different front bumper. It actually had wider fenders. It had a different rear sort of diffuser. I fell in love with the car. I mean, anything out of the Lamborghini Museum today, if you think about it, that you could actually have the opportunity to purchase is insane. Fast forward, we start negotiating. I've fallen in love with this car, and in my eyes, this is one of those cars that one day could be worth, who knows, but really priceless in many ways. A one-off car, factory museum, disappeared for many years. Now, we end up buying the car, we bring it to Miami, and we learn during this process through Polistorico certification and all these different things that this car was actually an early development car. And it was a car that Lamborghini kept developing for potential endurance racing in the GT2 series. At the time, Stefan Rattel of SRO, the Stefan Rattel organization, was also in charge of the FIA GT Championship. So imagine all of the famous endurance racing in Europe was because of Stefan Rattel. And Stefan Rattel was also in charge of the Diablo SVR program. So him and Lamborghini were in a partnership, and they were producing the first Super Trofeo series. I think it was called at the time Super Trophy Series. And this was the Diablo SVR race cars, one of 32 cars built, and they were raced in a single marked series. Very cool at the time, very forward thinking. Now there's a lot of brands that are doing this, but again, a very cool project. Now this car was developed by Lamborghini and Stefan to basically do endurance racing, all of the racing in Europe against Ferraris and Porsches and all of these other cars in a GT2 class. Now the car, we learned over its time, actually was the first Diablo, we believe, with a complete carbon fiber body. All of the documents would show that. We also believe it was the first Diablo with a 6-liter engine. So it was developed later into a 6-liter engine. And then for some reason, we do believe why, but for some reason in 1998, the car was just parked. And it was parked in the Lamborghini Museum. And it only raced ever 3 races. It didn't do terribly well. You could basically call it a development racing car in that process. And then at some point in the early 2000s, Lamborghini decided to sell some of their museum cars. Now, I don't know the exact number. If you go to the factory museum today, we know not all of the cars are on display that are part of the factory collection, but we know that many of the cars have been sold. One of the cars was the Murcielago RGT that was originally part of the factory museum collection, and this car. Now, fast forward, we ended up selling this car. I believed it sold way too cheap. It sold just under $2 million. And to me, in my eyes, this is a car that should be, as a Lamborghini nerd, 20 million, 10 million, who knows? But when I was in Italy, I had learned that the car sold for very, very low amount of money at the time. The factory museum, they were looking to raise money for new projects, and they were basically just selling off cars. Now, I can't say the exact price, but let's put it this way. It was definitely less than any new Lamborghini today. I'm talking production car for, imagine, one of the most historic Lamborghinis of our time, a museum piece or a museum car. But yes, for us, in our 10 years of curated, the Diablo GT2 has to be one of the most incredible finds, discoveries. To bring it to curated to Miami, have it with us on display, and then sell it was completely surreal.
If you get a ticket, the first thing you should do is text a picture of it to 305-305. That will get the ticket clinic on your case immediately. You'll be facing costly fines, risks of suspension, possible jail time, points on your license, higher insurance premiums, and a lot of bad things that they can help you to avoid. You can also find them at the link in the description below, but the Ticket Clinic is a nationwide law firm with brick and mortar offices in Georgia, Florida, and California, but they've got attorneys everywhere, and that's what's most important, because a local attorney will know exactly how the local laws work, know the people who are in charge, and get you the best outcome possible. So text a picture of your ticket to 305-305 or click the link in the description below to fight your ticket with the Ticket Clinic.